It's TLDRFC.
Yes, it is.
I'm Danny.
I'm Casillas.
And welcome if you're feeling soccer curious, and also welcome if you're not. You know, we welcome all
You came to the right place either way.
Yeah,
either
that's right.
way,
that's right.
You're at the right place.
We're happy to see you, and you know, we're off to a really good start. I'm feeling slap happy. I'm so excited about what's going on right now in the World Cup. I'm so excited about the MLS coming back.
Oh my gosh, so excited! I mean, at the end of the day, we made it.
We made it.
We're at the final week. It feels crazy to think that it's the final week already, but also it feels like it's been 4 years just of the World Cup.
Honestly,
so it's like, I'm like both. We were just talking before we got on too. Obviously the World Cup has been awesome and it's been super exciting, but it's kind of nice that it's coming to its end and we could now get into other types of soccer, specifically the MLS, because the World Cup is awesome. It's just brings literally the world together, but you know, like soccer is more than just the World Cup, and you know, you have a lot of people coming through. And if you're a fan of this pod, don't think that just because the World Cup is ending that we're ending.
That's right.
We're just getting started.
That's right. Yeah, I'm really excited because I think that this experience, watching all these different types of play and teams coming together and having different, you know, like it's gonna be really interesting to see if there's anything good, anything bad, any storylines that come from the World Cup that bleed into not only the MLS but other leagues and players and like their breakout roles. You know, we've seen a lot of players that have gained notoriety, like Vozinha, right. You know, even just from Cape Verde being an incredible goalkeeper. Like if he's gonna go anywhere, obviously the US and like everyone in the world seems to have, like, if they weren't already in the know previously, have fallen in love with like Erling Haaland.
Right. He was who I was about to say that, like, that was someone that has already established a fan base for himself.
That's right.
But has now exploded that in a crazy way.
Yeah. Yeah. So it'll be fun to see the different outcomes that come from these things. And then also, like, obviously we are so excited about Robert Lewandowski coming to the Chicago Fire.
Oh man.
And he's one of those stars that wasn't even in the World Cup. So
no Poland.
Right, exactly. And so you kind of forget there are plenty of other people that like aren't participating in the World Cup. They either weren't on their national team or their national team didn't even make it in the competition. And so as much as it's like for the entire world and it feels like the entire world is playing in it, really it's only a fraction of it, you know. And it's really exciting to see everybody get back to playing against each other. And I mean, I'm just so excited. I can't believe that like this week the MLS has games.
We were talking about that too. I kind of wish that it was like World Cup ended, MLS the next week.
Right.
It's kind of on top of each other, but it's all right. Like it's just so exciting because now, okay, we get tomorrow and Wednesday the semifinal games of the World Cup, right. And then Thursday we get MLS. It's like, oh, cool. The soccer just doesn't have to end.
We're just eating,
and that's awesome. Good. I was gonna tell you, I got this video served to me from I guess 4 years ago when the last World Cup and Haaland wasn't there, but all of his like Man City team was because all of their countries had made it. Sure. And it was just a video of him around the facility, just like waiting around, doing stuff. And it was really cool because obviously this year he didn't have to go through that. But there's probably so many players that are like just watching the World Cup, like itching to a bunch of MLS players, Lewandowski. Like, I mean, the fact that he signed while the World Cup was going, I'm sure it was also a little like, hey, look at me, I'm still here. But it was also cool that, you know, there's players that are just itching to get back to it, and I'm sure the World Cup, seeing all that stuff has been getting them even more excited. I also have a question that I generally don't know. Is there VAR in the MLS?
Yeah.
Is there?
Yeah, I think so.
I'm so tired of hearing about VAR that I was like, I don't.
Why am I second? It's been so long since we've watched the MLS that now I'm like wondering.
Now I feel like I have nightmares about VAR.
I know.
Like I'm just awake at night thinking about.
Wait, now that I'm thinking about it, because
I know it's in the Premier League.
I was gonna say, yeah, like am I conflating it with the Premier League? Because I know that's where I was first introduced to it.
Yeah.
Let's look this up. Let's look it up.
I'm sorry that I should have asked you this pre-pod, but it just popped in my head right now because I was like, man, you probably feel this too. I feel like every week Does it?
Yeah. Oh,
Okay, they
yeah.
do.
Okay, actually, I remember this now because the first match of the year, and that's maybe probably why I have like a different memory of it, but the first match, home match that the Chicago Fire played in, that was a key element in ruling for a red card. And
I do remember this.
yes, and
Yeah.
it
Oh,
was
okay.
it was so cold that
Yeah.
we were sitting inside the United Club lounge in Soldier Field, and we were all like, "Wait, what's going on?" And so then we walked out because obviously we were like kind of mostly watching on. It was in February, so
Yeah.
pretty cold in Chicago.
You're valid.
That's right. Yeah. So they had already scored a goal, and we were sitting inside. We were watching the game, and then we were like, wait, hold on, we got to see what's going on. So, but yeah, that's absolutely it is absolutely a thing. I don't know to which extent they use it. It kind of seems like I might be talking out of out of turn, but I think that they don't use the same offsides technology where it's like
Sure.
lined up with like the toe going over the line and stuff like that. They might be instituting that. I don't know if they.
Well, I have
don't
seen a lot
know.
of stuff that the World Cup VAR is vastly different from other leagues.
Okay.
And I think that's why it's had like its criticisms and things like that. Like I think the offside for VAR in the World Cup
Okay.
is much smaller than it is in even the Premier League.
Yeah, it says based on this like brief Google that unlike some European leagues, it relies on the naked eye without drawing the controversial virtual offsides line.
See, there
So,
you go. Yeah.
yeah.
So I'm excited to get back to that. And, because it feels like every week there's at least 10 conversations about World Cup VAR. And I'm like, let's get it over with. You know?
honestly, yeah, I agree.
But with that, do you wanna catch up on what happened?
Let's hop in. Yeah, we have what's the opposite of exponential?
Minuscule, maybe?
We're just gonna use Google the entire time. Opposite of exponential. Is it exponential decline?
Okay.
Exponential decay. Okay,
Decay.
that's right. I
Oh,
was
okay.
thinking like I don't know if there's like a opposite
Yeah,
in
that's
exact
what-
words. I mean, I'm sure that there's like a decline opposite, whatever. Who cares? So because of how many games we first started out with, I kind of am like, it's so weird watching these games, and especially with like how World Cup prioritizes like FIFA prioritizes the entire world watching it.
Mhm.
And so you've got 2 p.m. games, where I'm watching it like on lunch break at work, and then nothing in the evening.
Yeah.
And like, whereas the majority of that majority of the time we've been watching, it's like, so there's been 11 p.m. games,
Right, yeah,
there's always been something
That's
going
been
on.
awesome. Can we talk
Yeah.
about that for a second? I'm so bummed that tomorrow and Wednesday, both of the games are at 2 p.m. 2
Yeah.
p.m. Central Time. We're in Central Time. I guess maybe in other, like in the West Coast or something, it's a little later, so it makes more sense. But I have to go to work,
I
I
know.
have to
Yeah.
I'm gonna kind of just listen to these games.
It's a bummer. I think that the main thing is that obviously the people competing, like the teams competing are France, Spain, England, and then like the only one that would be similar to us is Argentina.
Sure, yeah.
And so like you're gonna prioritize those
That makes sense. Yeah.
groups, because then at least it's during the day and it's not in the middle of the night where like France and England have to like stay up.
I've had World Cups in the past where I remember that it was at midnight and I watched it at midnight.
Maybe-
I'm not trying to be like USA.
It kind of sounds like it.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm just all because I love these games, and
I
it's the
know.
semifinals, and I'm like, of course, on a Tuesday and a
know.
Wednesday of when I work, but that's just a Casillas criticism.
It does. It's a Casillas criticism. Let's write that down.
we're
Write that down.
trademark that. It's gonna happen.
Trademark Casillas criticism right there. I totally agree. It's like it kind of bums me out, but I wonder if the U.S. ever makes the semifinals, if we'll have more of a say in that.
Yeah, that's
like
true.
I could see that potentially being like, people are like, well,
We
you
need
should
this on
prioritize
prime time.
because that was the game prior. It was England Mexico, and they were watching it at like 4 a.m.
That's true.
and
yeah,
so
I didn't even think about that.
yeah, and I think it was a Sunday.
Yeah.
And so like they had work the next day and stuff. Yeah. So I did see a lot of stuff
Okay.
about that. I
was a little selfish for a second. Thank you for talking me down. I was just bummed, but you're right. You're right.
no, it's tricky though, because I mean, it just like with anything, like there's so many things that unify us with social media, with like broadcast news, and like how you can find out something across the world like within 2 minutes. But there's still time changes. And so it does kind of suck with these things. Like I thought that with like the Olympics, there's so many times where you wake up to something where it's like, oh yeah, all this happened.
Right.
You know, and you're like, no. I didn't want to, it's like
I wanted to
spoiled,
see it
you know?
live.
It's like Simone Biles won gold like 12 hours ago, dude. Like don't worry about it. You know, you pass like it's just it does kind of stink. But first world problems for sure.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? Let's get into it though. We had 4 games this week that feels so small.
Yeah, it's so wild. You like remember 2 weeks ago when we had the spreadsheet just full of games and we were just like, oh, we gotta speed this up. Now I feel like we can linger a little bit.
I know. Yeah. We're gonna be in and out of here like real quick. So watch this be like the longest episode ever. But anyway, so France versus Morocco. This was an exciting matchup on paper, but I was a little bit disappointed in the way that the game played out. Obviously, France ended up winning 2-0, and France didn't completely dominate the game. But they kind of did.
Yeah, like I feel like they dominated in their way.
Yeah, it was very much like Morocco kind of took a page out of the book of like Paraguay, where they weren't trying to foul them, but they did kind of come into the game like ready to defend instead of like attack completely, you know, and France just seems like one of those teams from my limited perspective that every time they're out on the field, like they can adapt so well and like exploit the weaknesses and stuff. And so it ended up, you know, it was interesting when Mbappe ended up getting a missed penalty kick.
That I thought was gonna, because that was like before any goals had even been scored.
That's right. It was like it was before the half.
And I thought maybe that was like an indicator of like, oh, is like, does Morocco have a shot here?
Sure.
Because that like it's a penalty kick. You think like, okay, this is now what, you know, watching these games and stuff, I feel like once a team goes up 1-0, it feels so much larger than that 1-0. And then 2-0, you're like, okay, now this is almost insurmountable. So you get that penalty and he misses and you're like, okay, now Morocco, it's almost like a momentum booster.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
like, oh, we can use this.
Stop them in their tracks.
But then it just immediately turned around and was like, oh, okay, that was just he just missed a penalty. It's no big deal.
Exactly.
Kind of
thing.
Yeah.
You have Mbappe scoring in the 60th minute, and then Dembele only I think about 6 minutes later scoring. As well. And they both were just beautiful goals. They ended up pulling Mbappe out, you know, halfway through the second half, and it was like, okay, like this is not the game that I think Morocco really wanted. It was kind of a repeat based on what I understand about, like, obviously I wasn't watching that closely in 2022, but it was a repeat back then. It was like the same exact outcome where France just ended up kind of taking control of the game against Morocco. And I think it's got to be a little disappointing for Morocco, but also I think that it's cool that they've made it to this spot to you know, cups in a row, and hopefully they can
I think this
grow off of it.
These are like the stepping stones. You establish yourself as not exactly a powerhouse. Like, is there like a mini version of a powerhouse?
That's a good, you know, a power apartment.
They're establishing themselves as a power apartment of like, we're gonna be around. You have to face us, and who knows? We can always make noise. It's almost like, not to bring up the United States or Mexico again, but kind of the stuff that they are hoping to be like. Even before the World Cup, I don't think we were saying that we might. I mean, we probably were like, hey, who knows? We could win it all. I think we were saying like, let's get to a quarterfinal. Let's get to a semifinal. Like, that's the goal. And I feel like the fact that they're hitting those should spell a transition into getting into the semifinal. Like, those are the things you have to get through to get to that point. So I think it's really cool. I also wonder if I'd like your opinion on this. Do you think France has become this powerhouse that now teams are in their head before the games even start.
Oh yeah.
Because now we see it with Paraguay and now with Morocco. I'm sure. Well, I mean, we're going to get into the semifinal storylines, but hopefully Spain has more, like a higher idea of themselves.
Yeah.
Where they're not going into this like, okay, because it seems like you said, both Paraguay and Morocco went to this immediately like on the defense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're not going to attack because we know how strong they are and we just got to hold them. And it's almost like if we can go to tie. Sometimes I think this with some of the games, especially the earlier games too, where they were like hoping for ties because penalty shootout, anything can happen,
right,
in a way. And I wonder now, has France just gotten to this point that teams that don't feel like they're at their level are just kind of like, yeah, we're gonna take it easy and just defend because we're so scared of them.
Yeah, that's right. I think that this is with any team, I guess, out there, but I think that France, in order for France to lose, it will be because of France,
right?
And
like
not because of the other team defeating them, based on the way that they play.
Right.
It seems like as long as all the wheels are turning, and like certain wheels can turn at a different speed, but ultimately they're all turning, France has got it in the bag almost every single time. But I think that if you have certain elements of that team missing, then that is going to be the reason why they lose. I think that if they have a healthy team throughout the rest of the competition, they are going to win it all.
Yeah.
I just don't see, every single game that they have played thus far has been different.
Yeah.
And has been, they have shown obviously some of the same people, obviously, Mbappe and Dembele end up showing up on the score sheet a lot. You've got Michael Olise, who's just incredible in the, in every approach, pretty much. Yeah,
they have no holes.
Exactly. And so, like, I really don't see a team like them where there's like remember like, this one?
Yeah,
it seems like every single game they have just been able to acclimate themselves to the setting, and I just don't see that in any other team. And so I would be really, really surprised if they like come full strength against Spain and Spain somehow finds a way out of it, because like they just seem like so complete. But I could be wrong. I could be wrong.
I think that's my thing. I just want someone to take it to them just to see how they would react. And not take it to them like Paraguay did, where it's like, we're going to just beat them up.
Sure.
Like take it to them like, oh, we have goal scorers. We're trying to get goals. And, this is also probably like, I'm very American today, I think. But like almost like a shootout. Like, hey, like we're going to go for as many goals as we can. Now, rather than, and this is the kind of antithesis of what makes soccer beautiful, but I feel like just because it's France, it's almost like, now just try to outscore them, because if you're just going to defend them, clearly that hasn't been working. They're going to find a way to score on you.
Right. You
should find a way to score on them and make it a shootout game, which again is a very Americanized thing of like, which is more goals, but I just feel like that's at this point the only way, I think, where no one's tried that.
That's the thing. It's like, I think that it's kind of like what we discussed way back when, where we shared our gripes about going to the penalty shootout at the end of the game, like going into extra time and all that.
Yeah.
It seems like teams are basically seeing, okay, we can't go into this game and score on France the way that we can other teams.
Right.
And so we're going to need to take them to that spot.
Yeah.
And to rely and kind of like break them down, so that we have an even playing field at the very end, which is an interesting tactic. I don't know.
It just hasn't been working.
That's the thing. Yeah. I think that they have too young of a team. They have too powerful.
Yeah. I will say too, I think it's been just a competition. Like they have, and I think, again, we'll get into it. I think this played out exactly how FIFA wanted it to play out, where like, I think I saw a thing, and forgive me, I forget the exact year, but I think this is the first time in about 30 or 40 years that the FIFA ranking 1 to 4 are the final 4 teams.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So these are the 4 teams. I believe it's France, Argentina, Spain, England. That's how they're ranked. I could be wrong. But I do know that they're the top 4, and they also put them in these groups that the only way they could face each other was at the semifinals. So it kind of played out in the way that they wanted it to play out. But I think in that, France never got tested in the way that they really could have. I get like Norway would have been the best, but in that game, it was the last of group play that they didn't really care about. Yeah, they played their guys, but Norway didn't play their guys. So it was just, they never really faced a competition. They haven't felt, and hopefully, you know, the next game will finally be an indicator of like, now you have a real competition. Someone is at your level. And this is, I feel really bad because this feels like I'm taking away from Morocco. Morocco has had a great World Cup run. They're just not at the level of Spain, and I mean of France in terms of talent. You know, they don't have one-to-one talents. They have good talent, but France is just overwhelming.
Yeah, I agree. I think we should cover the next team or the next matchup before we get into their matchup. But I do have more to say about France and Spain
for sure.
Spoilers, but but I think that it'll be interesting to see those two compete.
For sure,
like you said with FIFA, it's like, seems a little too perfect, but also I think that it's far from as simple of a storyline as we probably like to be fed.
I also don't want to like dump on it too much because I'm like, it is also really cool that the top 4 teams are in the semifinal. Like that is something we want. Right. It's just like, okay, FIFA clearly wanted this as well.
Exactly. You know what? Let's get into the next one. So Friday, July 10th, we had Spain versus Belgium. This is an interesting game because I've had this conversation with Ashton about Belgium, you know, obviously moving on, beating the US. Mm-hmm. Is there, I think I know where you stand on this, but just for the sake of, you know, conversation,
for sure,
were you rooting for Belgium so that the US's loss looks a little bit better because you're like, oh, Belgium was like actually a better team than we were giving them credit for? Or were you rooting for Spain because, you know, screw Belgium and I don't want them to like go on any further, you know?
No, that's a great question. I think I probably, because I for both US and Mexico, I feel like I had the same thing where I've had this kind of like, I don't, and you actually sent me this. I think Mexico and England, despite that game ending how it ended, I feel like Mexico and England formed like a bond from it. And you sent me that England wants Mexico to come to Wembley to play a friendly because now there's this bond. But I was still like, let's go Norway, take down England. But you know, and we'll get into that. But it was kind of back and forth of like, I don't really hate England though. I respect what they did or what they're doing, and it was a good game, and like we played them well. And I think I had a similar feeling with Belgium. And it's funny that you say you were having that conversation with Ashton. I think I was having a similar conversation with Brenda, but we didn't really land on what we were really rooting for. It was more, we were thinking about already the two scenarios of afterwards, where it's like, okay, if Belgium gets absolutely swamped by Spain, then it makes US look really bad. But if Belgium at least just, because I think even going into it, I was like, Spain's gonna win it. Or like I had a good feeling of like, Spain's gonna win this. But I'm like, if Belgium just plays a good game and like hangs with them, I think that does make US look a little better. Of like, oh, okay, like Belgium is better than I think the entire world thought. Mm-hmm. And I think that's kind of where it ended up. And I think I was happy with that. I think it was just hard for me. I think it would have been cool if Belgium won, and I would have felt good about where US.
You would, okay.
But I think what I just really didn't want was Belgium to lose like 5-0.
Yeah.
Because then that would have been so embarrassing. That was like my main thing of like, I hope Belgium just gives them a good game and that'll make us look better. But I don't think I've necessarily cared either way who won.
That's a really interesting point because I think I completely agree with that. And I think that the best case scenario actually did end up happening where they didn't look absolutely like dog water, but it ended up being they still lost. Yeah. And you still got to go like, okay, they didn't make it through, like the villains were conquered or whatever. Usually I'm of the mind that like it almost feels a little bit better if they end up dominating the next team because it is that kind of compensation of like, okay,
we just faced someone that was on a destined run.
Yeah, exactly. But I totally agree. Like, I think it depends on the scenario. And so with this one, I definitely agree. I think that the best, like if they were to be hit with like a 5-0, loss against
Right.
Spain, that would have been awful. That would have
Like,
been even
'cause,
worse.
then it's like, oh, US, this is who you lost
Exactly.
to.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, if Belgium had won, I'm like, oh, USA, who knows what could have happened,
Yeah.
Like if it was a
Right.
different situation.
Exactly.
But I think it played out kind of how I thought it would happen, and how like, and exactly what you said. Of like, as long as Belgium didn't get blown out, I would have felt okay with it. That I was
sure.
like, it is what it is. So yeah,
I realized we didn't get into the actual score of the game. It was 2-1.
Right.
Spain and Belgium were tied for a chunk of it, and then Spain ended up just like kind of breaking them down. Their defense was better than I think anybody was expecting, considering the game prior to the US game with Belgium. They let in 2 goals against Senegal, who had a pretty good offense, and obviously they had like a really, really late game winner there. So I think that no one was really expecting them to like put up a huge fight against Spain, but obviously the US game gave us like a whole new perspective on Belgium.
Yeah.
I don't quite understand why everyone keeps talking about Spain like the way that they do. They're not passing the eye test for me.
I feel the same way.
Do you? Okay.
I feel the same way. I don't think I've seen. It's funny. I think I've gotten the least served to me Spain stuff. Like
Sure.
I've gotten a lot of Norway stuff, a lot of England stuff. I guess I didn't get a lot of Belgium stuff. I mean, leading up to USA, I guess I got a little bit. But other than Lamine Yamal and his little brother, I feel
that's so cute.
I love his little brother. Like the excitement his little brother has. If you guys haven't seen it, look up Lamine Yamal little brother reactions, and it's the best thing you'll see all day. You'll be smiling for the rest of the day. But that's really all I've gotten served to me for Spain, so I haven't really heard. Like, obviously, you going into it, and you just have this kind of like they're a powerhouse. But I think like seeing it in the games, it's kind of like they're, I don't want to say barely hanging on, but like they are. I haven't seen any like dominant performance.
I thought so too. Yeah, like they had a good game against 2 teams. One of them being Austria in the round of 32, and like they won 3-0. But it was also like Austria,
right,
which I don't think anybody had like super duper high expectations. And then I believe that they won against Saudi Arabia 4-0, and it was also again one of those things where it was Saudi Arabia. Like it was not one of these European, as we keep saying, powerhouses. And I think, understanding that they won the Euros in 2024 is like helpful to understand like where those opinions are coming from.
Sure.
But if you're looking at just their performance of the World Cup and the stuff that we've seen thus far, I'm really surprised at how people are taking like, I've been listening to pretty much everything that I can about the World Cup, and there are so many people who are predicting the quote unquote upset against France. Obviously I've been really high on France, but like I said, I don't have much more allegiance to France than I do to Spain.
Either one.
And so it's truly off of like what I'm watching, and so I'm really confused why people are seeing them going all the way. I could be eating my words in a week from now, but like I'm really surprised by that.
No, but I'm with you, because unlike you, I think I favor Spain a little more than France. Not for any like oh, I love them or anything like that. I just France is so dominant. It's almost like a Yankees thing.
That's right. Yeah. And it would be kind of nice to see a new a new final matchup other than France Argentina.
Exactly. But it's kind of the thing we were talking about too, of like, yes, both with France and Spain, of we were saying with France, of like their competition has not really been to their level.
Sure.
I think the same could kind of be said for Spain, where like like you said, they were able to dominate against Saudi Arabia and Austria, right?
Yes.
But like that competition isn't to their level. But we watch these France games, and we can like you said, the eye test, we can clearly see like, oh, teams are going in scared of France. I feel like teams are playing their game against Spain.
Yes.
Like Belgium was just playing their game. It didn't seem like they changed anything. They had De Bruyne in, which they didn't for USA. That could be for rest or whatever. But like Belgium was ready to play their game, and for the most part, they played it well. It was tied for a large amount of this game, and eventually, maybe that's what Spain has, is that like they got extra horses that they can
Sure.
play for longer at
They
their
are a
game.
young team.
Yeah,
So I guess,
yeah. Like
that
so
might
maybe
be-
that's the thing of like their game plan is just ride it out until the end and then turn it on.
Yeah.
But it's different than France, where from the kickoff you can clearly tell they're playing their game and they already have the team they're playing against on the ropes. Whereas the teams that play Spain, I feel like are just like, let's play our game and let's see what happens. We could get this win, and Spain has done the job. They've gotten through these games, but it just seems like they've barely gotten through all of these, and it's not like shaking anybody. At least it's not shaking me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So-
I'm glad that you agree. I mean, it's an odd thing, but I guess that, if you go in with certain expectations, you are going to find them unless they don't meet them very obviously. You're
Right.
going to that they're going to be checked off the list because it's more validating to be like, see, I told you they would make it this far versus they're not quite up to spec,
Yeah,
but I don't know.
exactly. No,
I don't know.
we're the same here.
So when it comes to, I guess that what we can do is we can look at these two matchups and then the two afterwards and see the winners of those and discuss our predictions a
Yeah.
little bit about like the match preview. So like with France versus Spain coming up.
Yeah, so France beat Morocco and Spain beat Belgium. So now
right.
in the semifinal, France will play. We've been saying it
That's-
around,
yeah,
but
for
just
sure.
to
Yeah.
get it official, France is playing Spain in the semifinal.
That's right. So if you had a prediction, doesn't necessarily have to be like a score prediction, but like an idea of how this game is going to go. Do you have any inkling or?
Before I say this, I wanna shout out too. I think you went 1, 2, 3, 4 for 4 on your predictions. It was last week.
With France?
Yeah, I said
Spain.
I thought of a Belgium upset. That was my one.
Oh
thing
yeah,
that was
I
different.
was pulling for Norway.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think
Yeah.
I think you knew. You were there.
It was that kind of thing.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it could have been anybody's game. And
That's
it was.
true. Yeah, that's
It
true.
was, so.
But so I just wanted to give you a shout out.
I appreciate
you were
That's
on
very
it.
sweet of you.
But I'm see, I don't like it's either what my heart says or what my mind says, and I don't know where I want to go. And I think, I'm gonna say I'm the more emotional one on this pod.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna go with my heart and I'm gonna say Spain. Despite
Okay.
everything we say,
Yeah.
I feel like maybe they've just been like playing possum a little bit and
They
just
have
like,
their number.
yeah,
Yeah.
and they're just like, okay, now finally we're at the semifinal. We know that France is the favorite. We're gonna put it all out there. I think Lamine Yamal will be ready for the moment. I feel like that's the thing. He hasn't really broken out in
Yeah.
any special way, but I feel like he has been playing his game
Sure.
and stuff and looking for his moment. And I think he's someone that plays to the moment.
Sure.
And I feel like he'll feel this and hopefully play to it. And I don't know. I want to see the upset. I'm a hater on France, so I'm gonna just say Spain, even though my mind is like, you're so dumb, but my heart is like, I don't know. It feels right.
I feel it. I totally see where you're coming with that, and I think that that's very well possible. Like it's going to be really cool, as much as it's probably produced like less incredibly intense matchups.
Mm-hmm.
The expanded format has been kind of like building to this, like, are they frauds? And
Yeah.
there are so many teams that like, Argentina making it this far. You can look back at their track record and be like,
Yeah,
like, really? Do you
very
really think-
similar to what Spain is doing.
and quite honestly, I think like France to some extent. Like I think Morocco was their best.
Yeah, it's like
best
who they
opponent.
played. Who did they play?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And so this will be really interesting to see who shows up to the occasion. So Spain coming in being the hardest opponent that France has faced, and then vice versa.
Yeah.
It'll like we have like a new game on our hands. We have a whole new like
100%.
there's not necessarily momentum at this point. Like this is a matter of like, two bullets fighting for, which side is who's gonna go.
Yeah. I'm curious what you think too, because sometimes I'm fascinated by just the discourse that these games, what comes out of them.
Yeah.
I feel like there's more pressure on France. It's the semifinal of the World Cup. Everyone has pressure.
For sure.
But I feel like there's more pressure on France than there is Spain, because I think if France lose, it becomes that, see, you guys didn't play anybody.
Absolutely.
And now as soon as you played someone, and whereas if Spain lost, we're like, well, France is just so dominant.
Yeah,
you know?
and also Spain is kind of like they remind me, and again, I don't have nearly as much insight as I do about this World Cup versus previous ones, but the 2018 young France team with like a young Mbappe and like them taking it all right there, like that's what I feel like this Spain team feels like. Not that they are 1-to-1 in every way, but like it really feels like if Spain doesn't win, then it's going to be like, well, they have 2030 to like build off of this. Whereas France is in a completely different position. Not that all of them are old by any means,
but they're all in
but it's
primes.
going to be different. Yes, exactly. And so like the expectation is set for France, and they have delivered on that expectation for the previous 2 cups, and have, still plenty of gas in the tank.
Yeah.
But I don't think that Spain has like the same expectation. So it'll be a matter of like what we've discussed, where like, how the draws worked previously, where certain draws feel like a win versus certain ones feel like a loss.
Yeah.
If France lose, then that will feel like a capital L loss.
Yeah.
But if they if Spain loses, then it'll feel very much like, okay, well, we'll get them next time.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's almost, I think you'll like this. It's like the Monsters University thing where he's like, no one will remember you when you lose. And he's like, sure, but when we win, no one will let you forget. That's France to Spain right now.
Yeah.
Whereas that's the thing. It's like if France lost, everyone's gonna be dragging France.
Yeah.
But and they'll be propping up Spain. But if Spain loses, they'll be like, hey, don't worry, you still got it. You got time. Sure. You're like, this guy's 19. Don't worry.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
But you didn't. What's your prediction then?
I think it'll be a tight one. If France come to play, I think that they'll be good. Like I think it'll be in their hand, even if like the score doesn't reflect it. Like I feel like that's the thing, is like watching France, some of the scores that they, final scores that they have are less than what you would assume watching on TV. And I wonder if that might be a problem, or if that's just like a byproduct of their game.
Yeah, I'm curious if that's what like they want, of like, hey, let's just it's very business like let's do our job.
Right. We don't need to have a 6-0 draw.
Yeah,
win or whatever.
That's the thing with France. It feels like the thing I was saying earlier. In some teams to others, it's very different. But with them, once they have a 1-goal lead, it already feels insurmountable.
That's right. Yeah.
And I think that's what they're doing. Like I think they're intentionally like, once we score, we're good. We don't need to show y'all how much we can score.
Yeah.
Our goal is just to win the whole thing, which I can't help but respect.
Right. Yeah. I think that Spain comes out and they're going to try to look like Belgium did to the US, where they're going to try to score immediately.
That's what
I think they're going to try to catch France by surprise, because of all the games that all the other teams have played against France, where it's been very much like, let's take a backseat and defend.
Yeah.
I think that France is going to try to come out like hot and fast, but I also could see France doing the same exact thing. Did I say Spain? I meant to say Spain doing that to France.
Yeah.
But then France doing the same exact thing. So it'll be an interesting, like I can see France going more on the defense immediately, which is like maybe not something that they're necessarily used to.
Yeah.
But it'll I think that they have the longevity to like make it through more confidently than Spain, even though Spain will have gas in the tank until the final whistle is blown.
Yeah.
I think that France pulls away with this.
Let's get crazy. I'm gonna say Spain 3, France 2.
I'll say the same exact thing. France 3, Spain otherwise.
Yeah. So France 3, Spain.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah. I like it.
We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, great.
Very
excited for that.
Yeah. Should we move to the next one?
Let's do it. Okay, so the next game that we had I love that they put this in Miami. I know that that's just like how the schedule worked out, but you had two Northern European teams sweating it out in the swamps.
Yeah, I feel bad that like I don't think Haaland was getting dragged. I think his coach was getting more dragged for if you didn't see this game, Haaland took out of the game with like 15 minutes left. But I'm like, he was probably dying. Like he was probably cramping up or something
I
at that
know
point.
that's a thing. So we'll so Norway and England went into extra time, going in tied 1-1. England ended up getting pretty quickly afterwards, getting another goal from Jude Bellingham.
Right,
He
like
has just
right when
been
overtime started.
yeah, right when overtime started, and so then they obviously ended up playing another half of overtime, and it was like I think that the feels like temperature was 98 degrees out there,
Jeez.
and previously Norway had been playing in Boston or Foxborough,
Yeah.
and they with like 70-degree weather were on the sidelines with ice packs and stuff, and so like
Right.
they were not equipped to encounter this heat. And so that being said, I think that they really showed up really well, all things considered. It's not like England had much of a, they don't have nearly as drastic of a climate as
Yeah.
that as well. So it's not like they were playing in like a comfortable position
Sure,
either
but they
otherwise.
played in Mexico.
Sure. Yeah,
Like
they
they
had just
were.
previously played in Mexico. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good point. But I think that ultimately, yeah, it was a controversial decision to pull him out. But you got to remember, like, this guy he has been their guy
He's been
the entire
everything
time,
to them.
And
Yeah.
so it's like, as much as he's been that guy, he's playing. I don't know. It does kind of stink. Like I do think that there is like always going to be that what if, but I
Mhm.
wonder how much of that was the coach protecting them by saying like, what if, let's get some more defenders in there and not let them run up the score.
Yeah.
And like, let's make it look on
Yeah.
paper in the history books, make this look like a closer game than
Sure.
it could have ended up
That's a
looking
good.
like.
That's a good point.
I
didn't
don't
think
know.
of that. Yeah.
That's what I was like. I almost got the vibe from watching
Sure.
the end of that game, just because it did feel like, okay,
It was
especially with such an early goal.
Yeah.
You know?
It was also heartbreaking too, because I don't know if you remember. It was so this game is just a little personal anecdote. My grandpa's birthday was this past week, and he turned 73.
Grandpa.
Shout out, feliz cumpleaños, pa. And we threw a big party for him, and it was in the backyard and stuff. But I this had been like months in advance that we were prepping this. We had a taquero, everything. It was a really cool party. But then like leading up, I was like, wait, when is Norway, England? And I realized it was like this at the same time as the party. And I was like, okay. It was funny because there was actually like his brother and sister went inside to like watch the game and stuff because they loved soccer, so I would pop in too. But I wanted to help out and make sure everything was good for the party. So there was like moments I missed, moments I came back and stuff. I was as locked in as I could be, but I just want full transparency. I couldn't be as locked in as I wanted to be.
Sure.
Like even at the party, I just had my phone and I was like talking, yeah, no, that's great. That's but I don't know if you remember, Norway did score
First
to take the lead. They like, and it was a great goal. And I think it was it an offsides call? I forget exactly why it was taken back, or I think a foul was called.
Was that their second one?
It was their second one.
Okay,
yeah.
Their second one. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, they had scored a second one.
It was offsides.
And it got taken away. And I think that was
no. Actually, I think that it was a foul on Holland. I think that wasn't it like where he knocked into one of the defenders.
Oh,
yeah.
Now I remember exactly.
Yes.
He pushed the guy, but the guy was holding him. Obviously, I'm gonna be in my own hater mindset. I love Holland. I want Norway to win. And there's so much of this of like, I feel like as much soccer as we watch in the World Cup, there's been so much. I don't want to call them like dirty plays or just more physical plays, like the jersey pulling, all that stuff. It's just been so prevalent that to a certain point that I think the guys in the games have just realized like it is what it is. We just got to like play through it. Some guys will obviously throw themselves. The whole soccer is full of floppers thing.
We'll get to that for the next game.
Yeah, seriously. I don't really vibe with that talk, but it is true sometimes that guys flop. And I do think, Holland did push him, but also he's being held. Holland's also huge. I was having this discussion with my sister's husband. It was like, Holland's, if you got pushed by Holland, you'd fall down too. I'm like, that's very fair. Yes. But still, like, I didn't feel like it was the right call, but perhaps it was. I think it was also just me wanting Norway to win. But yeah, so he pushed that guy, the guy fell, and it didn't, he wasn't even the one that scored the goal. Like, I don't feel like it even affected the goal that much. It was a way, it's almost similar. not exactly, because the Argentina one was like way farther from the actual goal.
Sure.
This was at least still within
the Egypt one.
Yeah.
Against Mo Salah.
Yeah, exactly. And this one was at least still within the vicinity of the goal, but it wasn't like necessarily it didn't affect the goal in any way, I thought.
Yeah.
But they took it away. And I also feel like that was kind of like a morale like hit for them too. Cause like, hey, we did what we had to. We took our lead and we were going to hold on to it, but now it's taken away. And now we have to get that back. Like, I feel like that's so hard to get that back once you've already felt the sensation of like, we did it. We're here now.
That's right.
And it just now has to start over. You're already dying from this heat. You're so tired that it was just a bummer. Like I really felt like that goal was going to be the game changer and it got taken away. And you know, England played their game. That's all shouts to them. But yeah, I feel like Norway, that's how close it was. It's a hard thing when it's like, like the Mexico one where it's like we were close, but we really could not get that goal. This has to hurt even more because like we got the goal,
right,
but it got taken away.
Right, and we were in the lead.
Yeah,
you know, for a chunk of the game. So whereas the Mexico game, they were always kind of coming from behind.
Right,
so.
right, exactly. So we could always say like, oh, we were so close, but we know like, hey, we never got there. It is what it is. Norway could be like, we got there, and that's a great point. They had the lead first, and then they had the lead again, and both times. I mean, they conceded a goal, so exactly. Like that was a tie. But then the second one is like that was just got taken away.
And that's why I feel like I can't help but wonder if that's the coach saw the writing on the wall, was like, you know, we are not destined to win this game.
Yeah.
Because we just do not have like all power to them. It's worked, but their entire attack strategy was pass it to Haaland and like see if he can get it in the goal.
Right.
You know,
I mean, that's their guy.
Yeah, exactly. And so I can understand why that isn't working. You know, England is covering, you know, putting 2 to 3 guys on him at all times, just like every other team. But England is probably one of the first teams that they actually have that actually lines up. Like they have defenders that are not probably as tall as him, but like tall enough to like actually block a header from him versus like obviously in Mexico, like, you know, if you were to have like half of that team out there, it just would have been like, you know, I don't know. It's just
even Mexico against England. I was like,
that's
how
right.
tall
Yeah,
are these
exactly. Right. Yeah. Well, when they were playing against Brazil, even, you know, like there were moments where it's just like, you know, obviously within his 2 goals, his first one being a header, it was just like the guy had no chance. Yeah. Like there was just no chance to defend him. And so it seemed destined to happen, like where if he doesn't get a chance, then Norway doesn't have a chance. Yeah. The goal was fantastic in the beginning. It almost felt like a security goal over, you know, like I don't think anyone was expecting that player. I don't even know his name. Selfishness.
Try to pronounce it.
I probably have it on Fatma, but I just I don't even know where to begin with that. But it was a beautiful moment, and you thought like, okay, they can like you were saying, build off of this. But at the end of the day, I think their entire game plan relied on Haaland being successful. He had, I believe it was 13 games where he had consecutive goals in them. And so it didn't seem like, you know.
I know the hurt and heartbreak that this must feel is insurmountable, but like I don't think he should feel any sort of like anything but pride. And like he should leave with his head held high of like, I did everything that I could. And like we talked about Norway last week and their history, that they don't have this rich World Cup history. I also saw, like, I didn't realize how small the population of Norway is. It's only about 5.3 million people.
Really?
Yeah, it's a very small population. So they beat every country that they beat on this run had a bigger population than them. Some of them like triple the population.
Oh yeah.
So for the fact that Norway was able to get this far, do what they did, all kind of on the back of Haaland. And I am glad that no one kind of dragged him for being taken out. I know it's like not his decision to be taken out. I was a little salty that they were, you know, like one that he got taken out, but even in hindsight, when I was like, okay, it makes sense. Like it's almost 100 degrees in Miami.
Right.
He's doing the most. He's trying as hard as he can, but this English team they were almost like tripling him at some point. They knew what Norway's plan. Everyone knows what Norway's plan is. It's just he's so good that as much as you know what's going to happen, it's like Thanos, you know, it's inevitable.
Yeah.
But England had the means to at least hold him up. And to a certain point, you just got to let the guy rest, because it's like, hey, man, you did everything you could.
Exactly.
You know, just you fell on the sword. Thank you for everything you did.
Right. And I think that there's a lot of conversations about like giving him obvious credit for like a lot of their success, for probably more than half of their success. But I also think that building the team around him, it's like, it's really important to acknowledge to like all the running around that the team had to do, that he is obviously lurking up in near the goal, but like these guys that are winning back balls against this pretty scary English defense,
Yeah.
and so like it was or an offense as well, but they really, I think the whole team did such a good job at rallying behind him and setting him up for success. Obviously he gets to reap the rewards, but they had a very I don't think anyone expected their team to be so well rounded, like their goalkeeper especially.
Oh, sure, yeah.
But I think that there's a lot of good to come out of this
Yeah.
experience with them, and I do really just hope that they're able to build off of this success, just like with all the other teams.
100%.
It
Yeah.
really seems like they have such a cool opportunity now, where he's this still relatively young star that you can build the entire team around. If you have the opportunity to create another element of your offense that doesn't rely solely on him, then I think you have a better chance. Like I compared it to the Eagles, when they won against the Chiefs just like a few years ago in the Super Bowl. Everybody thought, Saquon Barkley, you need to shut him down, because that's been like the primary offense for the Eagles.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what the Chiefs did. And then they just had Jalen Hurts air it out, and he threw for like 3 touchdowns and like 400 yards or whatever the heck, in this Super Bowl game, because they were all so focused on guarding Saquon, because he ended up having like 26 yards or something, like something laughable compared to what he usually did. And so obviously in this case scenario, Holland didn't have the game that everyone was hoping that he would, and probably rightfully so, because England did their homework and they needed to do exactly that to prevent them from winning the game. And if Norway has another element to their offense, I think that they could be a really good, really scary team, because overall they have a better defense than I think a lot of people have given them credit for.
Especially
they play such a physical.
Goalkeeper.
Yeah, the goalkeeper was great. He obviously, if it wasn't for that one mistake against Jude Bellingham, then they would have probably pulled away from the game. But obviously, like the worst of the worst, the worst moments in goalkeepers' play is always like on the score sheet versus like a defensive play, in any other player. It's just like you kind of like forget about it, so it does kind of suck that it all falls to him. But yeah, I'd be curious to see what they do with it.
Yeah, you're 100% right that like they still were able to be effective despite their best guy, who they have been using for every game up until that point.
Sure.
Didn't have this like, it was like every game he was scoring twice, and I think they probably knew going into it too. Like England is going to be on him. We're still going to look for him, but like that can't be our only mode here. And they played as effective as they could. I think also like rightfully we've been shouting out Norway as they should be shouted out, but I do want to give love to England and what they're doing. I know it hurts. I know Brenda's gonna be like, nah, how dare you? But it's just they're playing well, and I can't help but love Jude Bellingham. Like he's so good. He's such an athlete and just seems like a good dude. Last week I talked about him giving his jersey to Gilberto Mora, and just I like that, they sing Wonderwall, which is fine, but I do like that Hey Jude is just for him, and every time he looks, and it could be an act sometimes with athletes. I don't know how much is like PR stuff and how much is genuine, but he does seem like a genuine guy, and he does seem like he's taking in when they're singing Hey Jude.
Yeah.
And that like I like that, the country of England has really embraced him. I know that they've had like their kind of like discourse about him and stuff, but I'm glad he's finally being as embraced as he should, because he's just so good. It's almost, I think he's getting to a lesser extent some of what Haaland got, of like people now knowing more about him. Because again, if you follow soccer at all, you know the name Haaland, you know the name Bellingham, you know Harry Kane and stuff. But if you don't know really much about soccer, maybe all you know is like Messi and Ronaldo. Now I think Bellingham is also getting in that conversation because of his play, because of the dude he is. And I just feel like he deserves all of this, and he's been playing great. He's become one of my favorite players. I already liked him before, but after this, I think I've really now I'm rooting for him.
It's funny to see how successful some of these guys have been on their national teams versus what they're able to do with their club team, or what they're not able to do with their club team.
Yeah.
Because obviously you have like, you have certain people who I think play to the same standard. You've got Harry Kane, who had an incredible season with Bayern Munich. You have, Haaland with Man City, obviously is now their poster boy in many ways.
Yeah.
But then you have, and this might play to, this might actually be more so due to the club and their dysfunction and stuff. But you've got, Bellingham, you have Mbappe, you have all these Vinny Jr., you have all these guys on Real Madrid that are superstars for their team, for their home team, their national team, and then for some reason just can't quite click together, you know. And I'm just so blown away by that. And so it's beautiful to see that World Cup kind of create these stars or give them a new element to their career.
For sure.
Because Mbappe is like, I think, a favorite for so many people because of France and not because of Real Madrid
or even PSG.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think the same is like with Bellingham, and I'm just really excited to see what their careers end up being. But it's been fun to be a part of like this burgeoning era of, here are these World Cup legends that we're going to look back on and have so many memories
and
with.
I think in a way I've seen other, I'm not like going to claim that this is my take. I've seen other people say this as well, but I do think that because in club soccer, you're with the team so much, there's so many practices, so many games, a lot of the games I've heard too. I don't watch a lot of Premier League, but when I do, or what I've heard, is that the set pieces are such a big deal. So it's like they're really trying to get corner kicks, free kicks, because they've practiced those so much. And there's so much, like, it's almost like a machine, these teams, because it's all the best of the best players, but you have a role in this. And then when you get to the World Cup, you obviously play with your country team on friendlies, but even then, like, you have the club commitment, so you don't get to play with your country as much as you can with your club. So now a lot of these games, and why I think they're so interesting and fun, and we see these players kind of break through in these ways, is because you can't rely on just set pieces because you haven't practiced them as much. So now you have to rely on the greatness of your players. Haaland can like break through, Bellingham can break through, Vinny Jr., all these players can have these moments because it's like, hey, we've had practices and stuff, but we kind of just need you to make something happen, because we
it's almost back to the fundamentals.
Exactly.
Yeah, you can't be too sure how your opponent is going to play.
Yeah, because it's like, you might have never played this country.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You don't have years and years and years of footage to review, and you don't have like the same, obviously they have plenty of tape and stuff that they can like review of these national teams, but more often than not, you're going off of a very, very limited inventory of that.
Right. Like, you could scout players, but you don't know how they play within the country.
Exactly.
Dynamic.
They might play a completely different role in their offense, their defense, whatever it might be. So that's been a lot of fun. It's like the great equalizer, kind of. Let's see what ends up happening.
Who are the actual best of the best? And I think that is what the World Cup tries every time to show.
For sure. Yeah. That's so fun.
So one more game, right?
Yeah, one more game. Let's get into it. Argentina versus Switzerland. This was, I think, probably a lot of people were considering to be like Argentina's biggest test. Their biggest test, which is still saying something given the fact that it's Switzerland.
Yeah.
For the first 10 minutes, they were, what am I saying? Argentina scored within the first 10 minutes with a McAllister goal. And that was really quick. It felt very much like, Argentina is really, really good. Yeah. And then Switzerland was able to hold on. They ended up equalizing. Not before getting a yellow card from, and I'm forgetting the name of the player, but there was a moment where it was a pretty egregious yellow card. I don't think anybody could argue with that. And usually yellow cards aren't that big of a deal. It was Embolo.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Who got a yellow card. And he, the reason why I mention it is because after Switzerland equalizes, there's a huge turning point in the game where he ends up being originally the ref calls a penalty on an Argentina player for tripping.
Yeah.
Against him, or rather, like on behalf of him.
Yeah.
And it looks, based on like the replay, you're like, oh, that's like a pretty simple, okay, this guy in Argentina is probably going to get a yellow card. Then they start like reviewing it a little bit more, and then they show another angle, and you see that Embolo ends up diving and not even having any contact with this Argentina player. And it feels like, whoa, like that's crazy. That's pretty egregious, And there's been a lot of discourse about this, obviously, because with the VAR, like they not only called it back on the Argentina player, but they ended up giving him his second yellow card, which then resulted in a red card and ended up kicking him out of the game.
He was heartbroken.
He was heartbroken. He looked completely
in tears,
shocked. And I've seen a lot of takes about this. There are some people who argue that the ref should have given him a final stern warning rather than a second yellow, because of how much it changes the game.
Sure, yeah.
Which I can see being like a worthy argument, but I can also see if you are trying to get a foul called on someone who doesn't commit a foul, that is, within a position that is ultimately like it can affect the momentum of the game. And obviously this thing did end up affecting the momentum against Switzerland, but like if you get away with something like that, then it promotes it, and I can see it for like the greater good overall, that people, that he's getting kind of like nipped in the bud for it. But I can't help but wonder how the game would look, especially given how Switzerland ended up taking Argentina into extra time.
Yeah, despite
that, losing 3-1, but it was not a decisive like, oh, now that they're down to 10, we're gonna like pull away. It was like
they still hung on. And even that like 3-1, I don't think even necessarily gives the full picture. Yeah, because I guess you can see it was overtime, so you're like, oh, okay, it got to that, but they scored one. And then the third one was just kind of like off of Switzerland was throwing everything to try to get equalizer goal, and then Argentina was able to just run it back and score in that way. So that third goal wasn't necessarily even, that was more just like,
it was almost like an empty net in hockey.
Yeah, exactly. That. And I'm with you. I think this is across all sports though, where sometimes there's just it's inconsistencies. Like it is a rule that if you're flopping egregiously, you will get a card for it. That is in the rules, but everyone flops. Everyone is trying to get that. Like what I was just saying, when in the Premier League, set pieces are so important that there's so much flopping because they're trying to get a Mexican fan, no era penal is such a huge thing, where that guy on Netherlands just tossed himself when he didn't get touched, and he got the penalty and they won the game. So these things happen. So I agree that they should be punished, but like they're not punished all the time. Right. And it wasn't even going to be punished, but because it got reviewed and stuff. And that's the whole why I'm up late thinking about VAR. Right. Because it's just these things of like so many things could be happening that don't, because now we're going back and like I saw a thing too that this is the first year that they're actually doing, and it's happened a couple times, and now I'm like, oh, that makes sense with the offsides of they'll let it play on because you can always take away a goal, but you can't give a goal back.
That's right.
Kind of thing, you know? So it's like if it might have looked like offsides, but we're not for sure, we're not going to call it, because if we call it and it wasn't and they could have scored, then that would affect something.
That would have absolutely sucked. So it does make sense.
It does make sense, but it is this kind of thing of like but now the flow of the game, we have already had an experience. We're already in a momentum shifting thing.
For sure.
But now, because you've gone back and reviewed it and think it's actually an opposite thing, the momentum is completely shifted in the other way. And now the game feels clunkier. I think that's the best way I could describe it, is like now it is a clunkier game where it's like, just call you. I know it's impossible to call everything all the time equally, but and I think that's the thing that people have a problem with, of like, guys throw themselves all the time. It's soccer. It's part of the game. But it's also another part of the game is that if you do it egregiously, you will get the card. And it's just that's the tough part of it all.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's kind of like back to what we talked about on Wednesday about how, you know, if you make a certain rule, then players are going to the play style is going to adapt. And
Exactly.
so in the
Exactly.
past, flopping has been rewarded.
Right.
And so now with like, video assist, it's pretty easy to penalize it. And I think it's as a whole probably better for the game,
Sure.
but it ultimately is going to be like that kind of growing pains
Yeah, the
transition,
little picture stuff of like it hurts now, but in the
Exactly.
future now we'll have less of these things.
Right.
Hopefully.
And we need to, hopefully by 2030, with our next World Cup, we'll have a better idea of what is right and what is wrong, and like what the kind of gray areas are, because right now we're kind of like experiencing those.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if anyone's going to ever be truly happy about everything, but like I do feel
Impossible.
like we're probably in a better spot, because hopefully with VAR, granted, it's still left up to the referee. Like they have final say in the moment, but hopefully there are going to be like everyone obviously sees FIFA as like this corrupt organization. They think that every single match is fixed. We've like gotten to the point where the final four are like exactly who everybody thought they were going to be or whatever. Hopefully with it being able to be replayed and there's so many different views and angles of things, we can have a better picture. We can prevent those match fixing allegations from like constantly being talked about, because it definitely does feel like, that gets in the way of the game. Whether or not it's true, it's the public opinion that everybody thinks, oh, they're out to get my team or whatever.
Sure. Oh, yeah. And I think I've come to this, not the conclusion I've reached is not necessarily a happy one, but it's just like a place where I'm like, I can be okay.
Right.
Where like, I think everything is rigged a little bit. Like there's, there's so much money and so much things happening. I don't think it's necessarily like they started this cup of like, okay, Argentina's winning it.
Sure.
But I'm sure they're like, well, if we could help Argentina get as far as we can, that does good for us because everyone loves Messi and all this stuff. So it like certain things will be, pushed a certain way. And I'm like that. But if I start to get through all the machinations, or I start to think it's all a scripted thing, I'll never enjoy any sport.
Yeah.
So
we'll
at the end of the day, it's still the athletes against the athletes. Will these other things be thrown in? Yes. And it sucks, but that's, I think that's always been part of, I mean, we're from Chicago, where the White Sox were nicknamed the Black Sox because they were the first team to throw a World Series, so it's this has just been a tale as old as time in terms of sports, but you just kind of have to not see past it. It's still good to be informed about these things, but it's just like, if you start to think that everything is like wrestling, then you won't enjoy any sport.
That's a good point. Yeah, I think that you're totally right. I hope that I would hope that things have gotten better over time. It seems
I think they have.
Seems things have been like, I feel like that's been the hot word that we've been saying so much this entire episode, but egregious. Like I hope that the egregiousness of some of these calls end up getting fewer, like lessened, over time, because there are plenty, obviously, like, we referred to the hand of God, being one of the most controversial and would have been called back.
Yeah.
Nowadays.
But also is one of the most iconic World Cup goals. So
exactly.
It's like,
so it's like, I think that things have gotten better, but we still have growing pains to deal with. So
last thing I will say too, similar to Spain, is another Argentina winning by the right at the edge, skin of their teeth.
I really am curious about this England game.
Yeah.
I think that there's two outcomes that are possible.
Yeah.
And neither of them include Argentina dominating.
Yeah.
I think
I don't think that's gonna happen.
Yeah, I think that Argentina either scrapes by against England, and they make this win almost like all the other wins, where they somehow get to the end and they win and they hang on.
Yeah.
And it's maybe a 10 minutes of Messi magic, or something like that.
Yeah.
Or they lose 3-0 and like or 3-1, and England is
ready
like
for it.
Yeah, exactly, because England's defense, I think, is just they know how to handle these things.
And this will be Argentina barely getting across these games, whatever. This will be 100% their hardest test. The tests have been harder each time,
Right.
and each time they've barely made it through. But I think England was 100% the hardest.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they can still have that same game plan of like, let's just hold on and hope for last minute goals.
We'll see.
So, but what's the prediction?
I think that they get their comeuppance. Like it's going to happen.
It's reached the end.
I think so.
Yeah.
And it's gonna feel unceremonious. But it's I think bound to happen. Like I think that England wins it, and they win it like I said, like 3-1. I think that Argentina gets a goal, like probably a Messi goal.
Yeah, just
but I could see it going almost like the Brazil-Norway, where it's like, England has it in the bag for the majority of the game, and then Messi ends up getting a goal, but it's like not enough.
Yeah.
That's how I see it potentially happening. I could be completely wrong.
I think I'm the same with you. I don't even know if Argentina scores. I think
really
this is probably going to bite me in the butt, but I'm going to say England 2, Argentina 0. I think that's how it's going to go. I don't think England's going to run it up. I think Argentina's still going to put up their Argentina.
Yeah.
But I think, with Jude and Harry Kane, I think they're going to be able to break through at least 2 of them. One for sure, but I think they'll be able to get their 2 and then just hold. Like you said, the English defense has just been unreal, and I think Argentina, unless again Messi gets some magic, he might be able to get one.
And I guess that there's something to be said too, similar to how I would maybe feel less confident about England if they hadn't performed so well against Mexico with such a raucous atmosphere and really, really like outnumbered feel in Azteca, and just like and their fans like being all there
like
and
on top of them.
Right, exactly. And I think that Argentina fans are going to do that even, probably not even more so, but they're going to make a meal out of it.
They're gonna hear them.
Exactly.
I think England is just ready for the moment.
I think so too. And both of these games being played in domes is going to be like an interesting way to see
for sure.
There's not going to be people have talked about how Messi playing in the MLS for the past 2 years has given him the opportunity to become so acclimated to all these different environments, like with all the different heat and the humidity and all these different things. Is not going to give him an advantage.
This is now all neutral, completely neutral.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I think that, there is a world for Argentina to win, but the more likely side is England pulling away and giving them their ticket home.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
No, that's we're aligned here. I like how our predictions, even though we had opposite teams for France, Spain, I feel like they were still both within our predictions are essentially the same.
I think so too. And I think that ultimately it's what you want.
Yeah.
You want these good games.
Yeah.
You want these good teams to have a showing, because it does suck. Nothing it's so unsatisfying, like the Super Bowl that we just had, or even the year prior, where it's it feels like, the real fight was in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And then you get to the final and you're like, oh, this sucks.
Right.
You really do want, and I feel like that's where maybe my heart is also informing my head, is I do see a world in which both Argentina and Spain, both in my eyes, the lesser teams compared to the matchups that they're going up against, make it through against their matchup. But in my heart of hearts, I think that the better game, the better final would be France versus England. And so that's why I'm
with you.
Letting myself
that's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, right. And so I feel like that would be
I'm hoping for Spain.
Well, that's the thing, is and I think that Spain and England would be better too.
Yeah. But not as good as France.
Not as good. That's the thing. And so I think that's kind of where my eyes are at. As much as I want these Cinderella stories, these Cape Verdes making it through, there is value in that, but there's also that element of but then the shoe has to drop at certain points.
Yeah. If Mexico was here, if USA was here, it would be kind of wow, what a story. But no one would really be giving them a chance for good reason, So
the expectation nowadays is, or not nowadays, but at this point in the tournament is, I want the best
Yeah,
soccer.
and you know, there's like all the criticism that FIFA gets. I'm not mad that these are the teams though. Like I want the four best teams there.
And let's be real, everyone is going to tune in,
right?
You know,
yeah.
and like that is why we wound up with these teams.
Yeah, no one's necessarily, unless your country is in it, no one's hate watching it. On like if USA had made it to the semifinal, you know, the rest of the world would be like, oh my god, I hope they get trounced. I think same with Mexico. Same way. I mean, unless it was like Cape Verde, where at that point it's like, how far can this go?
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
But like that, especially in the World Cup, the Cinderella stories is they can only go so far. And I think we had some really great ones. This year, and I think because of the expanded format, especially. But yeah, it was just it. I think it's playing out in the right way, in the most fun way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And with that, could I give you just a couple storylines?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Going into it. So, quick nicknames. So Spain's nickname is La Roja, the red one.
Okay.
They have a red jersey. So
no way.
Yeah. Argentina's is this is gonna be hard. La Albiceleste, which is the white and sky blue.
These are very original.
Yeah. I'm just glad it's on theme. The France team is Les Bleus.
Right, that's right. Allez les Bleus.
Les Bleus, because they are blue.
That's right.
And
Les Bleus.
Les Bleus.
Allez les Bleus.
Les Bleus.
Les Bleus.
And England finally, with something original, is the Three Lions.
Three Lions,
which you know,
but also
is on there.
Is their drawing. Yeah.
And then so all of these countries have all won a World Cup already. So we have no countries that are like, oh, will this be their first? So that's unfortunate, but that's fine. France has already won twice. This will be their third that they're trying to go for. They won in 2018, which you mentioned. Spain only has one. They won in 2010, which that was South Africa, right?
Yeah.
That was got to be my favorite. Yeah. Also, random fun fact about that Spain team, their goalie named Casillas.
Really?
Yeah. Iker Casillas. He's one of the best Spanish goalkeepers, and we share a surname.
Oh, beautiful.
So his family conquisted mine. Argentina has won 3 World Cups, so they're going for their 4th. There was most recently in 2022, and England has only won 1, which is, this is just a side note. I think it's so funny that the English fans will be like, bring it home.
It's coming home.
It's coming home.
It's
when
coming out.
World Cup did not start in England, and you've only won once in 1966. It's coming home, right?
Yeah.
And then, so for some other context, Argentina, as I said, they have won 3 times. They're going for their 4th. They also most recently won in 2022, the last World Cup. If they do pull it off, they'll only be the 3rd team to win consecutive World Cups. Mm-hmm. First was Italy when they won in 1934 and 1938. And then Brazil when they won in 1958 and 1962. So not a lot of precedent of back-to-back.
That's really interesting.
I thought it would have been more.
Yeah, you would think. But but that does make sense now that I'm looking back at things.
Yeah.
I'm really curious to see how England compares to these folks that seem to be, obviously Spain, you know, winning all the way back in 2010, but still like within this century.
Yeah. You know? Well, it's interesting that like England is the only one that, like, you know, Argentina just won. Mm-hmm. France, which if they make it to the final, this will be their 3rd final in a row, which I should have looked that up of like how many times that has happened. But that is like, that's setting a precedent. And then Spain, I mean, 2010 was 16 years ago. That's insane. But like still, you know, within kind of the realm of recent history, that like all of these are like kind of recent powerhouses. England, you know, has been around for a while, but not really to the top in so long. So that'll be interesting. And then the last thing for storylines, just in terms of players. So France's best player, Mbappe, he already has one from that 2018 Cup.
Sure.
Messi, their best player, he already has one from the last one. But Spain, Lamine Yamal, right? Obviously, he's only 19 years old. He doesn't have one. Right. I think that storyline is interesting too because he's so young. This could be like, is he setting up as like the first stages of a GOAT conversation? Like to win it, this young Messi didn't win until he was in his mid-30s. Right. This guy's already won at 19. So that's the storyline. And then England, you have Harry Kane, which is of older generation, not exactly Messi's, but kind of like right after, because I think
Right.
he's already about like 31, 32.
33. I think,
33.
actually,
Okay, yeah. So
Yeah.
like he might not come back for a World Cup. So this will
It's
be,
true.
if he wins it, this will be his first. And then Jude Bellingham, who is in the prime of his career, he'll likely have another one.
Oh,
But
yeah.
again, is up going for his first World Cup. So you have kind of both sides of like guys that already have got it and want to cement their legacy with another one.
Yeah.
And then guys with Harry Kane of like, oh, really get the monkey off your back, or Jude or Lamine to be like, hey, I'm already setting up for an amazing career having this so young.
Yeah, that's
So,
right.
a
Oh,
lot
that's
of-
very exciting.
A lot of
good
interesting
stuff.
storylines.
It's really fun. I'll say this and then we can move on. But I'm really grateful to be following this, and I feel like there's a lot of toxicity in sports. There's a lot of people who think that they know better. There's a lot of people who think that they're owed something based on, like the dominant performances, and like there's a lot of controversy.
Sure.
There's a lot of really bad stuff in sports, but there's also a lot of beauty, and I feel so grateful to be a part of something like this, and to be seeing these greats kind of before our eyes playing for each other, and seeing how much it means to not only their country that they're representing, but also just the world, and seeing how it affects, like, I think that soccer is one of the best sports for everyone, not only because it's like a global game, but I feel like kids can get involved in it just as much as adults can.
Mm-hmm.
And it's you don't have to feel nearly as bad about it as, like, watching football, as even though I love football.
Right,
it's just
right.
like there is that element of like, I don't know if I should be supporting this, with like the physical trauma that takes
Sure.
place and stuff. And just like a lot of the toxicity of it, and like the American exceptionalism, it really is just beautiful to be a part of this like global sphere. And the World Cup, I think, just brings out so many beautiful elements of community, and like going to watch these games together and seeing other people experiencing the same thing together. It's really unifying. And
yeah, I mean, even us doing this.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
like
I'm like a pre-nostalgic for this. Like it's really a beautiful
Yeah.
thing. And I know that that's like silly, and like, of course, it's like kind of expected. That's the whole point of the World Cup. That's the whole point of like the Olympics or major things like that. But it's just, it really isn't lost on me like how special these things are. So,
right. I mean, we just talked about the 2010 South Africa World Cup and stuff.
Right.
Like, we remember those things, or even Messi winning the last one. Like, we are literally creating memories these last few weeks. Like, we unintentionally, unknowingly, but like in 4 years from now, when the next one comes, we'll remember, oh, do you remember
this will be like our litmus test of like how good that one is,
I think that was beautifully stated. And I think that's a great segue to this question. What do you think was your number one favorite part of it? Because now we're reaching the end. Next week we'll have a winner, we'll know, and we'll crown them. But so now, with it all wrapped up from beginning to end, what do you think your one favorite part of it?
Oh my God.
I know.
Know.
I didn't prep him before.
You did? Okay. Yeah. I don't know. Unless you have one, I might need a week to let it percolate a little bit in my head. Yeah. Do you have an immediate one that comes to mind? Because I've got like 7 in my mind that I don't even know.
No, I a part of me, man, there's so many different things too that, like, yeah, maybe I should wait a week. I think I was gonna say like Holland, and like what he, the amount of fame and what we
just
know
like
of him
generally who he's like become for so many people.
Yeah. But I don't know, like, I think I might need a week too, because I was telling Brenda this, that I think I might start watching Wolves. They got relegated from Premier League, but now they're in the Championship League.
Yeah.
But just because I found such an affection for Raul Jimenez, and he plays for Wolves now, that I think Wolves might be a team that I just follow now. So, but like there's all these other things. Like, I want to say the who was in Boston, the Swedish community.
The
Scottish community, like that, they might have been my favorite. And then there's the DR Congo. You're so right, there's so many things. I think next week we should come up with like a top 3 3 things of the World
moments.
Cup. Our favorite things.
That's great.
But,
okay, there's so much good that has come out of this. I'm really excited. Real quick, I guess, to wrap up our World Cup conversation. I know that we wanted to do real quick lightning round of guys, name, and dudes.
Oh, sure.
Moments. I know that you have a guy. We can get to him in just a second. I'm gonna have like a really quick little thing. Try to pronounce this name. Andreas Schledel. Schlederup. Schlelderup. He's Norwegian, if you couldn't tell. He's the one guy that scored for Norway. In their game against England, and I want to shout him out. Obviously, I don't know his name nearly as well as Holland. It's also harder to pronounce, I guess, based on just reading it. But I also want to shout him out because I feel like he almost personifies. He reminded me of, do you remember The Last Jedi? Last scene where you have like the kid who like
just like
does the force thing with the broom or whatever, and they never followed up on that, and it was awful, and I hate Star Wars now. But he reminds me of that, where it's like it creates this like, yes, Norway.
He's young too, right?
Yeah. Well, he's young, but also I think that he personifies like what I think is so cool about the World Cup, and how we will have to wait 4 years to see Norway's follow up to this, to see if they can even build off of it, to see what teams use it as.
You can't say we'll be back next year.
Yes, exactly. There's nothing is promised, and so I love that. As much as it hurts to not have a goal from Holland, and for them to go out against England, they fought really hard, and their offense that seems to only rely on Holland actually went out with a goal not from him. Yeah. And so it's like an exciting, I think, like personification of what this entire tournament is about. It's like seeing the old and the new coming together, and then like seeing what you can build together over the course of 4 years for the next tournament. So that's my shout out for him. Obviously,
shout out.
His goal does not.
It's
not like
because they didn't win. It won't
exactly.
stand the test of time. But it was a good goal, and it had them up.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
I will also be quick on my guy's name in dudes is Julian Alvarez for Argentina. He scored the first goal in overtime to put Argentina up. Essentially, cemented that they were going to win, and not just because like of that. But just the goal was so pretty. Yeah. It was outside the box to the top left corner, like nowhere where the goalkeeper could get it. And it was just, and this like very similar to what you're saying with, I'm not even gonna try to pronounce his name, but where like you're looking for Haaland, you're looking when is Haaland gonna get his goal. Same here, it's like, oh, it's overtime. When's Messi gonna get it? When's Messi gonna get it? And he was trying, but then you had this guy that was just outside the box, just saying, F it, I'm gonna take this shot because I feel like I can make it, and he does. Yeah. And that essentially wins it. I know they scored another goal later, but like I said before, that was kind of just like an empty net goal. This was the goal to win the game, and it was so pretty. It was such a good goal that I had to shout him out. It was great.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's great stuff. Well, I think we're getting right to the very end. We obviously have already talked about the matchups that are coming up. One tomorrow, or depending on when you listen to this, it might be today or it might be 2 weeks ago. France versus Spain. That should be a fantastic matchup. I'm really excited about that one. And then Wednesday, we are going to have Argentina, England, which again, I think should still be very good.
Great games, both.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. Then on Saturday, we have the third place game. So whoever loses between those two matchups is going to be fighting for third place, which is, I don't know, kind of fun. I know it's kind of weird. It seems to.
I like the third. I always like the third.
Yeah, I mean, it's more soccer, whatever.
Yeah.
And then the final on this Sunday. So that is really crazy that it's already here. So the next time that you're going to hear us talking, unless you're following us on TikTok or Instagram, in this long form, is going to be on Monday after the final.
And we'll have the final. We'll have
a winner.
You'll have our reaction to it, how we feel, how we thought of the games, and just our general World Cup wrap of the three things we like the best.
It'll be beautiful.
Will be given. But before we head out of here, could we just talk real quick?
That's right.
That MLS season is starting.
Finally, this is what the pod was originally going to be about, and then we started it right as the MLS season was pausing. And I'm so glad that we did, because I feel like we've learned so much already along the way.
Yeah, and now we're just soccer brained, so we're going to be so ready to we're going to talk like we know it.
Right.
We're still soccer curious. Don't worry.
Of course. We still are. We still got plenty to learn, but it's going to be so fun to jump into the MLS. Got a lot of exciting stuff, especially for our home team, Chicago Fire. on this Thursday, we're going to be going to.
We will be at the game.
At the game. If anyone out there is listening, watching, then hit us up. We'll be there, and we're going to be watching. Hopefully, for Robert Lewandowski's
fingers crossed
debut,
please play.
We will have plenty of content coming out for that, regardless of his status at the game. But we're really hoping that he'll be there, and so then next week, not only are we going to be going over some of the World Cup stuff, or really wrapping it all up, but we're going to go over the next MLS games that are starting up this week. The ones that are starting up, there's going to be a few games on Thursday and Friday. So we've got actually 6 matchups already.
Oh,
which is fantastic.
They're jumping just right into it.
Yeah. So Thursday is going to be CF Montreal versus Toronto FC, a nice little Canadian showdown at 6:30 p.m. Central. And then Chicago Fire, Vancouver Whitecaps. That'll be a fun matchup.
Which we will be there.
We will be there. Sebastian Berhalter playing against his.
I didn't even think
his
about
dad's,
that. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's
Greg
awesome.
Berhalter's son playing against his
daddy.
His dad. So that'll be fun.
Yeah, and hopefully Lewandowski's first game.
That's right. St. Louis City against Sporting Kansas City. Which, by the way, have you heard the rumors about Mo Salah going to Kansas City?
I've heard that they have the kind of like initial talks.
The touch point.
Yeah, they have that.
I would be blown away if they get that guy. But if they do, that should be a lot of fun.
Maybe he loves Patrick Mahomes.
Maybe he loves Patrick Mahomes and he loves, Kansas City barbecue.
Yeah.
Or something,
I
don't know.
so.
And tornadoes.
That would be awesome.
That would be really sick.
Kansas City is so much fun. It's the best. Mo Salah, if you're listening, please go. That'd be so cool. Don't go to Saudi Arabia, please.
He's got a lot of gas left in the tank
too.
So,
so is Lewandowski.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. Then Seattle Sounders FC against Portland Timbers for a Pacific Northwest showdown right there. These are some fun matchups.
Yeah.
These are like within the realms. I like that they started it with like some folks, some teams that are regional rivals.
Like kind of semi-rivalry games.
Right, exactly. And speaking of which,
good way to start it back.
Exactly, yeah. Speaking of which, Friday is going to be Nashville SC against Atlanta United, which those two are obviously they're newer teams, but they've got a regional rivalry right there.
Nashville, one of the best teams.
Nashville's looking nasty.
Yeah,
so
in the MLS.
That'll be a lot of fun. And then LA rivalry late in the day at 9:25 p.m. Central. LA Galaxy against LAFC.
That'll be cool.
So that should be a lot of fun too. We're gonna get into a lot of the history and a lot of the different talking points, the rosters, the fixtures, the whole league, the whole shebang. We're gonna get into it later once the World Cup is over.
I'm so excited.
And speaking of which, next week, if you tune into our episode, we are going to have an extended bit of our episode. We're going to go over the World Cup and over the different games that have occurred for the MLS. But then we're going to get into another segment called Club History, where we're going to go over all the different histories from each and every team and club within the MLS this season.
Very similar to what we've been doing with the countries in the World Cup.
That's
where
right,
each week we'll have a country, but this will be a more blown out.
It'll be extended format for sure, and a little bit more in depth, a lot more in depth actually.
Yep.
And those are going to be a club per episode. So of course we're going to start with Chicago Fire next week.
Woo!
And then we're going to make our way throughout the entire league.
That'll be fun.
It'll be a lot of fun. By the end of this season, we're going to be about just over halfway through all of the different teams. So if anybody out there is listening and wants to hear their specific club team, we can prioritize that. Otherwise, we will get through the entirety of the MLS by the end of the season next year. That ends in May after the Sprint Cup,
season,
which we will get into.
So much to get into. You don't have to learn it all now. We are going to be teaching you about
That's
it.
right. Yeah, we're going to learn and we'll teach it back to you. So we're really excited to get into that. That's really what we were hoping to do from the very beginning. That's our bread and butter. And I really couldn't be more excited.
Yeah,
so.
No, this has been great. The World Cup has been fantastic. I'm so excited to get to MLS, and we're right in the thick of it now. We're so excited.
So Thank you so much for listening and or watching. Please follow us on TikTok, Instagram, whatever it might be. Subscribe on YouTube, TLDR FC or TLDR Football Club. We really appreciate all of the support out there, and we couldn't be more excited to get into all of the MLS coverage and also just like other soccer world coverage in general, whatever tickles our fancy.
We're going to be soccer curious forever.
That's right. It's nothing to sneeze at, folks.
Nothing to sneeze at.
So,
all right. Thanks, everyone.